Yeah, yeah. I start a lot of podcasts and videos saying, yeah. Oh, but I really mean it this time. I cannot believe this news. We're going to try a radical experiment for the television announcing for Lucas Oil Pro Motocross this year. I'm Jason Wygant. I've been announcing these races as what the TV people call the play-by-play commentator since 2009. I'll give you a real quick glimpse of how TV works. All sports on TV works like this. You have generic announcer guy like me. He's hired because he knows the sport and the players and what their numbers are and what their tendencies are. But most importantly, he speaks without a distinct accent that does not reveal what part of the country he's from. I mean, back in the day, I used to talk like I was from New Jersey, but I try not to talk like that anymore. I've gotten better. And then beside that broadcast generic guy, the play-by-play commentator, is a color commentator. And the color commentator is an ex-pro or ex-coach in that sport. It's their job to tell you what it's like out there in them streets or deep in those trenches. So when I see YouTube comments saying, man, they should have McGrath and Carmichael as the two announcers for Supercross, it just doesn't work that way. You need to have a generic announcer guy like me who can have a producer in his ear saying, this much time to commercial and this much time out of commercial, and you got to send to the pit reporter and get it back. All those things. Most people don't like talking while someone is talking in their ear. I'm not saying I like it, but it doesn't bother me. So that's why I do that job. It's up to the ex-pro to give you the feelings of what it's like to be a racer under the helmet. Now, quick note, quick interruption. These videos are brought to you by Antigravity batteries. Ha ha. I have two batteries in my hand. This one is slightly heavier, but it's about the same weight as the one that came in your bike, but it has so much juice, you could jumpstart your truck with the battery in your dirt bike. And these batteries have built-in jump starter capabilities, so if your battery dies, it can jumpstart itself. If you're like me, you don't do a lot of maintenance, you don't ride a lot, and your battery's going to die a lot, you want this one. And if you're an off-road guy, or you're racing on a muddy day, and you're going to have to crank the bike a lot, you'll never have to worry about running out of juice with this battery. Now, this one is super lightweight. This would be the choice of the likes of Eli Tomac. His Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha team uses this battery. This would be the choice of Jason Anderson, and now Joey Savacci, who are on the Monster Energy Kawasaki team for the summer at Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. These are the batteries for you. Antigravitybattery.com. This year, we're going to try something different. MAV TV is now the home of the majority of the motos of the series, and MAV TV is going to eschew television convention, which says familiarity is key. Most TV execs would say when people turn something on, they know how it's supposed to sound. They want the same announcers, and that's why the same announcers stay in most sports for the same games for decades. Here we're going to do something different. It's the 50th anniversary of the series. We'll trot out some legends. Let me give you the names. This is crazy. Round one this weekend at Fox Raceway Apollo, we're going to start with Jeremy McGrath and Rick Johnson together. Jeremy McGrath and Rick Johnson together. I cannot believe that. I mean, I had Rick Johnson posters on my wall when I was a kid, and now I'm on phone calls and conference calls, and I'm going to be announcing a race with Rick Johnson. Admit it, you would pay money to watch a race sitting next to Jeremy McGrath and Rick Johnson and bench race with them. This is just what we're bringing to you, okay? And I guess I'm actually getting paid for that. That is crazy. Here's the rest of our traveling, revolving list of characters. Brock Glover, who I think is going to be very good at this and is a six-time champion in his own right. Ryan Villopoto. We'll see what condition he shows up in. Either way, it's probably going to be pretty loose, pretty fun, pretty good. James Stewart said he wants to do this. James Stewart will be there. He's actually become pretty reliable, let's be honest. The Bubba's World podcast keeps churning him out every week. He's excited. This is going to be awesome to have James Stewart back at the races and announcing on TV. Jeff Emig has done this for a long time. He'll be back with a race this year. Always loved working with Fro on and off the track. Good guy. Have a lot of fun. Adam Cianciarulo. Adam Cianciarulo, we all know, is probably the most well-spoken racer maybe ever. He's out injured this summer. He does have a 250 National Motocross Championship. That's credentials. We'll bring him in for one of the races. And Damon Bradshaw, when I eventually replaced the Rick Johnson posters on the wall with pictures of my high school locker, they were Damon Bradshaw pictures in that locker. And Bradshaw does not hold back his opinions on things. As do most of these guys. They don't really hold back. They have the credentials to say whatever they feel like saying. And at the end of the year, we'll wrap it up by bringing David Bailey back. To me, Bailey is the all-time gold standard of color commentators in the sport. This phone, not even this phone case, or a small piece of the phone case. David Bailey could look at that and in about 8 seconds come up with expert analysis and deep thoughts, the likes of which you would have never had. That's just the way Bailey's mind works, and I loved working with it. In the day, like high school days for me, when I had the Bradshaw photos in my locker, you know how it is. You start doing high school stuff, start getting a little distracted by things. The only thing that kept drawing me back to the motocross TV shows to give it a couple hours of my time when I set the VCR recorder was to learn things from David Bailey. And the fact that 15 years later I became the announcer for this series and I got to work with David Bailey is absolutely nuts. About the only thing more nuts is that I'm going to be working with so many different guys this year, and that's cool that Mav decided to try this. Davey Coombs from MX Sports and my boss over at RacerX, this has been his idea for a long, long time. How long? Well, back in the 90s, Davey was the pit reporter for these races. Davey was the guy often asking Jeremy McGrath or Ricky Carmichael, how do you feel after winning that race? But then Davey had a family. I don't think he wanted to go to 29 races a year anymore or 30, and he was hoping to do part-time. TV doesn't really do part-time. But he's had this idea of a revolving cast to get different ideas and different voices and different opinions in there every week. And now we're going to have it. I will mention a few other announcers real quick, but now I'm going to tell you where you can watch these races. Again, the majority of them will air on MAV TV. We have 48 motos a year, 24 in the 250s, 24 in the 450s. 45 of those motos will air live on MAV TV. 4 straight hours starting at 1 o'clock local time at every race, MAV TV. Check your cable listing, see if you have it. If you don't, see if there's a package where you can get it. If you can't do that, sign up for MAV TV Plus. Go to promotocross.com/watch. The link's right there. MAV TV Plus will work on your phone. It'll work on your tablet. If you're fishing, if you're riding, whatever you do on Saturday afternoons in the summer, you can watch all the motos. Now, there are 3 motos that are going to air on NBC, the big network. And that is key because the big network still delivers big ratings, even in a world where you're watching a lot of your stuff on YouTube. The big TV networks still get better ratings than regular television, often about 3 times as much. Like last year, the races were on NBCSN. It would be on the NBC big network for the 3 motos a year. The ratings were often triple, sometimes quadruple. That's big for the series and the sport and motocross and motorcycles in general to get in front of that many eyeballs. It's also good if you're Rockstar Husqvarna or Red Bull KTM or Monster Energy Kawasaki to get that kind of exposure, and the riders and their sponsors like it too. So there will be 3 motos. That's Thunder Valley, Southwick, and Redbud on NBC. Just the second 450 motos. All day at those 3 races, NBC wants Ricky Carmichael in the booth. That's awesome. So we'll get Ricky Carmichael at those. And Will Christian will be doing the pit reporting there. So that is our entire list. It's Bradshaw, Cianciarulo, McGrath, Bailey, Emig, Stewart, Villapoto, Johnson, Glover, Carmichael. That's our list. But there's one other twist. So those 3 NBC rounds will have Carmichael and Will Christian. The other 9 rounds, our pit reporter will be Jason Thomas. Yes, they're giving Jason Thomas a shot at this. JT's been on the podcast with Mathis and I for over a decade. He's on Pulp all the time, for better or worse. JT's done some commentating with MXGP, and now he'll be our pit reporter at the 9 MAV TV rounds, so he'll be the one asking the questions on the podium. So that's a lot of knowledge and racing experience. I'm just there because I'm the guy who doesn't have the accent. Kinda. I know a few things about the sport, but it'll really be up to, for example, RJ and McGrath to tell you what's going on the racetrack. That's television convention, bending it just a little bit this year, but man, is it going to be exciting. And feel free on Twitter and the comments here to throw stuff at us every time we announce what our new announcer for the weekend will be, and maybe there's some stories we can bring up on the air, although obviously the challenge will be to keep announcing the racing as it is. You still want to talk about the passes and the crashes, and who's in the lead, who's in the points lead, all those things, but also get a little bench racing in with these legends and hear their stories as well. It all starts this weekend. MAV TV Plus if you want to stream, MAV TV if you want to watch it on television, and 3 motos a year sprinkled in on NBC really helps with the exposure and try to keep the sport healthy and vibrant.